So 9/11 for me was not just a day that's going to come as just a 20th anniversary for somebody. For me, unfortunately, that sticks with me for life. I had just turned 18 years old, and I was being promoted on September 11, 2001, and I had just actually returned to my base, headquarters Marine Corps, 10 days prior to that, because I was in an auto accident where I was airlifted. So I still had a sling on during my promotion ceremony. Once we found out, we were all out discussing, you know, how crazy it was that the Trade Center had just got hit. And after discussing, and I returned to my room, put down my promotion certificate, and was making my way down, and it was just all of a sudden the ground shook, and it was like a big explosion up in the sky. At first I thought it was an earthquake, but once I stood up and I could see the smoke in the sky, we could see that it was coming from the Pentagon. I threw off my brace, and all of us ran immediately down the hill to the Pentagon. When we arrived, there were people coming out and screaming and all different injuries. And at that point, we just immediately started separating them and assessing them on their injuries. So I was there all day during the day. And then at night, I had to stand watch. Everybody had to stand a 12-hour watch. Once my shift was over, I returned back to the Pentagon and aided in as much as I could. Once the fire was out, we were able to enter the Pentagon later that afternoon, and one of my duties was to remove those who did not survive. And I had a prior minor training accident on my left ankle already, but it was pretty much healed, and then my other injuries I still had. But when I was removing a non-survivor, I stepped into a hole and concrete came over the top, and I crushed my left ankle. I honestly didn't know I had crushed it, and I continued for 24 hours pulling non-survivors. I kept going on it continuously, and once I returned to my barracks room and sat down for the first time is when all the pain set in, and I realized that I couldn't take my boot off because it was pretty much holding my leg together. After receiving treatment and being on crutches, and I had probably over 13 surgeries, 4 leg reconstructive surgeries, rods, plates, screws, taken in and out twice, my Achilles, my knee. After fighting with all of that, trying to save the leg, I developed nerve damage, which started to spread up the leg. And at that point, I was given 2 options. You can put a rod hip to ankle, or you can amputate. And that was a quick answer for me, amputate. So I went ahead and amputated in 2014. And again, that Marine in me knew that this wasn't gonna define who I was. It was gonna give me a purpose to move on in life. I would say 9/11 has impacted me in more ways than I can even explain. For me, I always live with the guilt of still living. Looking at all those people who didn't make it, and yet I'm still here. It's a hard cup of tea to deal with sometimes. But I think that's also why I'm here, because it's given me a purpose to live for those who can't any longer.